8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
What's going on, good people? Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Thursday to you. Thank you for joining me. This is the Pro Fan Talk. My name is Marcus Thomas, and as usual, I appreciate you. Right off the bat, we are in the building. My dad, number one out the limo. My Sean Young, number two. My mom, number three. Rob Povia, number four. My dude, Chuck's number five. Five out the limo, right out the gate. That's what I'm talking about, man. That is what I'm talking about. I appreciate you guys, as usual. NFL is the gift that keeps on giving. The sports world has been pretty active this week. Some other stuff off the field, and we got submarines disappearing and NBA trades. Everybody's trading in the NBA but the Sixers. So we'll get into that for a bit, but most of my conversation tonight is about the Eagles. I got my boy Chuck's in the building. He already knows. The topic of the conversation this week was who is going to be our number one running back. You see it in the poll down there. We've been talking about Kenny Gainwell and DeAndre Swift and everything that comes with that. Rashaad Penny, Trey Sermon, Boston Scott. I mean, you get 22 people on the field at one time, but only one ball. What's up, Jake? They got some decisions to make. And why, to me, why it's a big deal. Number one, of course, I'm a running back, so I'm going to look at that a little bit harder than any other position. But if not for nothing else, man, how do you determine without, and I'm saying this with the prerequisite of you already know that they don't hit in camp. They don't do it like we used to do it. They don't bang the way we used to bang. And how do you, there's some things you can see and some things you just can't. Some things you can only figure out when you go on full tilt, full contact, full pads, let's game situation, let's do it. And what ends up happening is you've got these guys that are scrambling for an opportunity in these preseason games. Now, theoretically, you've only got about 2 preseason games to really do what you need to do. The first 2 games, the vets are going to play maybe a quarter, depending on who you are. Guys like Gainwell, DeAndre Swift. What's going on, Frank? DeAndre Swift, Rashaad Penny. They're going to get some time. And I'm telling you right now, you'll probably get a little bit of an inkling of which way they are headed. Like who's going to be the feature back. Let's say it like that. You'll get a little hint of what that is based upon who plays and who doesn't in preseason. Because what's going to happen is they are not trying to get the guys out there that are going to play a lot during the season. They're not trying to get those guys hurt. So you'll see, like Kenny Gainwell is going to play in the preseason, but probably not a lot. DeAndre Swift is definitely going to play. Rashaad Penny's definitely going to play. Trey Sermons is definitely going to play. Boston Scott, maybe not so much. You know Boston Scott's not going anywhere. Boston Scott knows his role. So he's a staple in the city now. So if something happens to Boston Scott, I would be very, very surprised. But everybody else is going to get a chance to shine. I think Trey Sermon is going to get the biggest look in the preseason because nobody knows what he can do. You saw a very, very small sample size in San Francisco. And he got here and it was crickets. But Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell was putting in quality work. So our running back room got better. And you guys know I make no bones about it. I wanted the Eagles to re-sign Miles Sanders. I like Miles Sanders. I think he's a good back, deceptive speed, underappreciated pass blocker. And he ran the ball a lot smarter this year. Even though he is kind of a jump cut kind of guy, he tapered that down a lot this year, and he made it work for him. Getting to the outside, making things happen. That was the way to do things, and he was successful at it. And I do think that we could have and should have ran him a lot more. But Steichen had his offense. He had what he wanted to do. He did it how he wanted to do it, and based on the results, can't really complain. At least I won't. With the exception of, you already know what I'm going to say. With the exception of the Chicago game. I will constantly beat that horse. Right? But other than that, I mean, and there were other games where we ran the ball and Jalen ran the ball. And you don't want your quarterback carrying the ball over 10 times a game. That can't happen next year. That just can't. I don't know what they're going to do. Let me see. There we go. There's my agree, disagree. And this is going to be very important this year. The Eagles running backs will have more carries than in 2022. They'll have more carries this year than they did last year. I am really hoping that that is the case. If we end up doing running back by committee, so be it. That would not be my preference. But if that's the way that Brian Johnson is going to do things, I'm good with that. If that's your decision, roll with it. It'll work. We got the horses for it. We definitely got the horses for it. So, and one thing I didn't really think about until kind of late yesterday, if you look at it, we're set up to basically do the same thing that San Francisco's doing with Debo and CMC. Debo obviously is the preference coming out of the backfield. CMC, I think I got that backwards. Debo in the slot, CMC coming out of the backfield. That is a mismatch waiting to happen. And for whatever reason, San Francisco was the only one to try to exploit that package like they did. There are other teams in the league. They might not have two elite level players in the backfield like Debo and McCaffrey, but there are a lot of other teams with good players in the backfield, and you can double up. So, but I don't understand why other teams just don't do it that much. Maybe we'll see more of it this year because the NFL is a copycat league. You saw what kind of success they had because of that, especially Chicago, Carolina, down in Atlanta, and Indianapolis, because they got the young quarterbacks. Down in Atlanta, get the ball to Bijan Robinson as much as possible. That should be written on a locker room wall. Everything else is going to fall into place. You got the primetime player in the backfield. Use him. If they use him right, he's going to be the next iteration of the Debo CMC type hybrid running back. Use him like it. Get a big body in there to pound it on third down, third and short, and then just let Bijan Robinson do what he's done through college. That's what you drafted him for. So I don't understand. It's weird when you watch some teams and they copy some things and they don't copy the other things. And that goes back to coaches just got the egos. They know what they want to do, their way or the highway, even though it could be crystal clear that another option might be better for you. Don Don is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, Don Don? So, Rob, here's an interesting thing, Rob. Brian Johnson can throw more, and the running backs can still have more carries than they did last year. You can have both things this year for the simple fact that they ran Jalen Hurts way too much last year. And when I say me, Marcus, when I say run the ball, I mean run the ball with a running back. Jalen Hurts drops back, gives the ball to a running back. That is what I mean when I say run the ball, not RPOs. Take RPOs off the table. I think I look at RPOs now as that is our bonus. That is the thing that we can do better than anybody else in the league. Now, having said that, there is a very large, very fast man in Indianapolis with the coach that we had last year, and I think they're going to figure out a way to let that kid do damage. So we'll see how that develops, but he is going to be fun to watch because Shane Steichen is not stupid. He makes some questionable calls, but for the most part, that dude's offense is when you got the right quarterback, and Richardson is the right kind of quarterback. He is a Jalen Hurts style quarterback, except faster, with a better arm, and bigger. What else do you want? So Indianapolis is going to be exciting. Chicago is going to be exciting. I guarantee you, Chicago is watching tape on the Eagles, and they're going to be watching tape on Indy because they got to put Justin Fields in a situation where he can be successful. You already saw what he did to us. Some of the runs he had against us were just off the charts. So you got a lot of X factors in the league this year. Everybody's going to be trying to copy. Let's see if they pull the right packages for their teams. So, back to the point, Rob, I think Brian Johnson can have a more of a passing offense and still run the ball way more than we did last year. Difference being, like I said, take those RPOs off the table. Take them off. Because that is our edge on the offense. To put the defense in a situation where they don't know what we're going to do. And I said this all last year, you can run the RPO from a true play action set like with a man deep. Ace formation, you want 12, maybe you can have a 22, maybe you can have a 21. There's different things that you can do with our backfield with Gainwell and Swift. Because if both of them pop up, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? There's still some different things you can do with Dallas Goedert, putting them in formation and moving them around. But when you have Swift and Gainwell in the backfield, who's the running back? Who's the receiver? Who's the slot? What are they going to do? Going in motion, shift sets. That gives you all kind of crazy advantages because the minute you shift those running backs, the defense has to adjust and they got to give up their position. They got to give up their position. If you have a zero backfield and all of a sudden you get zero backfield with two backs, right? You got two receivers. Depending on how many tight ends you want to run, maybe one of the Gainwell or Swift is a slot, and then somebody's deep. But you can shift to certain formations. And when you shift, to those formations, the responsibilities of the defense have to change. And based on what they do, the defense got to give up the ghost, man. They got to let the offense know what they're doing. If not, they're going to get beat. They're going to get caught in a mismatch. And all of those big plays that Gannon was trying to prevent, that's the reason why. That's what they don't want to give up. Can you imagine playing the Cowboys and we shift and we get Kenny Gainwell or DeAndre Swift lined up against Van Der Esch? That's what you have to worry about. Every linebacker is not going to have Micah Parsons' speed. And guess what? I'll take Kenny Gainwell on Micah Parsons. I'll take DeAndre Swift on Micah Parsons. If they want to gamble like that, let them gamble. Let them gamble. Because as fast as Micah Parsons is, right? As fast as Fred Warner is, they can't cover. Having speed and covering like a cornerback or a DB, two totally different things. Now, you can be an athlete sometimes and make some plays and just being at the right place at the right time. Sometimes that is going to happen regardless. But for the most part, a fast linebacker, a fast defensive end is not a DB. Not a secondary guy. Totally different position. Hips are different. Dropping those hips, changing directions. If somebody runs a stop and go, a hitch and go, or a hard corner, hard end, linebacker's not going to be able to do that. I don't care how fast you are. You look at how much of a factor that Hassan Reddick was last year, and you saw what they were trying to do with him earlier on in the year. They wanted to use his speed and drop him back into coverage. Gannon admitted as much. He said it in jest, but if I hadn't dropped him back in pass coverage so much, he probably would have broke the record in sacks and stuff. He was saying it in jest, but it was true. Those first 4 or 5 games, they had him dropping back in pass coverage way too much. Way too much. And to me, that's when you got these coaches out thinking the personnel. Hassan Reddick kicked our ass the year before with the Carolina Panthers. He was all up in Jalen Hurts' grill. He was putting that work on Jordan Mailata. I think he had 3 sacks that game. That's what he does. That's what he does the best. Why would you change that up? That's the ego popping in. I know more. Know your personnel. When he left him down on that edge and had him do what he does best, that's when Hassan Reddick started opening up. Why'd you wait so long? Why'd you wait so long? So I don't want coaches that are going to outthink themselves. I want Brian Johnson to look at the pieces that are on the board and make the best use out of those pieces. Sometimes that might require throwing some of those plays out. I got something better because we got this guy. I heard a couple guys this week, they were comparing, like, kind of going back in the past, talking about when we had like DeMarco Murray, Jay Ajayi, guys like that, and how we used them, misused them, or whatever the situation was. And a lot of people kept bringing up DeMarco Murray. And I was like, DeMarco Murray was wasted here. He was wasted. You had a downhill running back running for Chip Kelly. Running gun, shotgun, play action. Everything was at a shotgun formation. And I remember this. I remember saying that he's not a side-to-side runner. DeMarco Murray was always a downhill runner and a pretty good one to boot. But the minute you put a guy like that, trying to get him running side to side, that's not his style. That didn't benefit him. So you put him in a bad situation. But I always remember, I forget who it was against, that one game, they finally lined him up in ace and let him run the ball downhill. And I think he busted like a 60-yard touchdown. It's like, you should have been doing that. Like, swallow your pride a little bit and let the man do what he's known for doing. So sometimes these guys get a little bit too high on themselves, too caught in their own world, and you got to be able to see the forest for the trees, man. As much as I like Steichen and what he did at the offense last year, I would throw remotes through the window. Every time we would get the play in late, it's like second and long or a third down situation, and they revert to that trips on one side or the other, and they would throw that wide receiver screen. That would drive me nuts, because as soon as they got into that, everybody knew what was happening. There was not too many times where we got away with that. Everybody knew that was coming. And to me, that just made me think of either they couldn't think of what they wanted to do, or they were running out of ideas. They didn't know what to do. So that was like always the scapegoat. We'll just run trips in the wide receiver. I hated that play. I hated it. Matter of fact, I don't think that was a trips play. What was the one where they was it Jacksonville that had the pick six? I can't remember. But as good as Shane Steichen was, he had those, chinks in the armor, and it seemed like we never could fix that. And that's that next level, that next progression of preparedness that some coaches have, and others they just don't have yet. I look at McDaniels down in Miami, and he's an analytics nerd. He knows football, but he's an analytics nerd, and he's found a way to put them together. Now, he takes gambles and all of that kind of stuff just like everybody else does. But it seems to me that his thought process is a little bit more 5 and 6 moves ahead. He's like a chess player. And the best chess players are 5, 6, 7 moves ahead of you. So I want to see what Brian Johnson is going to do. I hope he throws more. I think Jalen Hurts can throw more, because I want to see Jalen Hurts have those consistent 300-plus yard games. I think he can have that. Jalen Hurts only threw for what, 3705, I think. What my notes at? Jalen Hurts threw. Nah, it doesn't tell me right here, but he threw, I believe, a little over 3,700 yards last year. Somebody in the chat looked that up. I want to say 3705, but I don't think that's exactly right. But you get the picture. So, to be in that level, you want to be above 4,000 yards for the season. Now, here's the thing that gives Jalen Hurts the one up on everybody else, because he's not throwing the ball. He accounted for 22 passing touchdowns last year. Altogether, though, in total, 35 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns. So I don't care how we get them. I don't care how we get them touchdowns. Just keep getting them. But what you do is you change up a little bit. You alter some things, so maybe you don't put your quarterback in harm's way. Because now, rest assured, now that everybody's got a year on tape, they had him on tape before, but they didn't have him on tape being this good. So rest assured, they're going to come up with some plans to stop that RPO madness. If anybody was smart, they would go back and watch our game against Houston, and that team had the best defense against our RPO. Houston, we should have blew Houston out of the dome, and they made it a game. They almost won the game. So everybody's watching tape now. So now you gotta ratchet up another level. That's the one disadvantage that Brian Johnson has. Now everybody's got tape on Jalen Hurts and they're gunning. So now he's got to figure out a better way to do what he wants to do. Because I don't really see him changing the offense that much. Why would you change it? You know what it's about. You've been in it. So you're familiar with that environment. So he doesn't have to change a lot, but he does have to make some alterations. He does have to make some alterations. So give yourself some room. I want to see AJ Brown do some different things. Because if you think about it, AJ Brown wasn't a deep threat in Tennessee. Maybe he just didn't have the opportunity to with the quarterbacks, but AJ Brown was a slot receiver, and he got all of his yak yards were through the roof. And he was big and physical. He was DK Metcalf just a couple inches shorter. I think how tall is AJ Brown? What, 6'1"? And DK Metcalf is 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". But yeah, AJ Brown wasn't a deep threat until he got here. Now you see what he can do, and we got Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith to me is a modern version of Chris Collinsworth, but faster. He's not as tall as Collins. I believe Collinsworth is like 6'4", 6'5". Collinsworth wasn't very fast. Devontae Smith is a lot faster than Collinsworth was. But here's why I make that comparison. Collinsworth was a long, lanky guy, but wasn't afraid to go up and get the ball. And he had that technique where he could go up, catch the ball, and kind of let the body go limp so he could absorb all of those hellacious hits. Devontae Smith. He'll go up and get the ball, and he'll take those hits and get up and keep on moving. So for somebody that size, that slide, Devontae Smith can take some punishment. But just like anything else, there's a point that you don't want to go beyond. You know what I mean? You don't want to test that theory too often. One above all, I'm going to get to that. Who's the best blocker of the bunch? If you're talking about the running backs, I would say Rashaad Penny. I would say Rashaad Penny, but we'll see. Rashaad Penny was a beast. Go look up his tape. Rashaad Penny runs hard. So our running back room is set. I would not be opposed of Kenny Gainwell being named RB1. Just because he's a third-year vet. He knows what's going on. And all throughout his career, even through college, there were bigger names behind him, but they could not take their kid off the field. And I don't think this is any different. And this is going to be the same thing, in my opinion. This is the same thing as what happened in Dallas. You look what happened in Dallas 2 years ago. It was Zeke. And everybody was like, yo, every time that Pollard kid gets the ball, he's doing some stuff. But it's Zeke. But guess what? Lo and behold, somebody finally saw the light. And you know what? We need to start giving this kid Pollard the ball a lot more. And you see what happened. So, but the flip side of that, and what would give another point towards the running back by committee, using that Pollard reference again, Pollard got hurt. Zeke's not the same every down back as he used to because he's just older. And now you see with the running backs, that punishment adds up. That punishment adds up with the running backs. So just to keep everybody healthy, I think that rotation is going to be set. And as much as I would love to have a true RB1, because that's an old school mentality, not going to have it like that. That doesn't work anymore. When I came out of college, I had games I had a game one time. I had 300 yards on 37 carries. That don't happen no more. Does not happen no more. The only back that I know, and I'm sure you can look at the stats, and it'll peak up there a little bit. But the only back I can think of, the kid in Indianapolis, Damian Pierce in Houston, Nick Chubb, the boy in Las Vegas. What's the running back in Las Vegas? Oh my God, why am I blanking on him? Josh Jacobs. And King Henry. That was the other one, King Henry. So that's not too many backs that you can consider a true like bell cow back that that guy's going to get anywhere between 15 and 25 carries a game. Not touches, carries. And then you add maybe one or two screen plays or something like that. That depends on what kind of back you are. So, the more I think about it, man, running back by committee sounds the best. I just want to see our offensive line go into these games where you can look at these teams and say, you guys know where we're going. You know what we're going to do. You can't stop us. I believe our offensive line is that good. We just never did it like that on a consistent basis last year for whatever reason. Our offensive line should have dominated every team we played for. Every team we played for. You're going to get a couple of those guys that can really play ball, and it's going to be a battle. However, we're going to win all of those battles because our offensive line is that good. And the more you let them run the ball, the better they would get. But for some reason, we would get pass drunk, and they just wouldn't commit to running the ball, and that was frustrating. That was very frustrating. And then, heck, even in the Super Bowl. Now, we needed it because everybody was throwing the ball all over the place. And we lost that game because our defense couldn't stop anybody, and we had the turnovers at the wrong time. Turnovers at the wrong times. But I think, and let's give Brian Johnson some credit. He's not stupid. I had to do some homework on him, and I did not realize that he started coaching at the collegiate level at like 22, 23 years old. Right when he got out of college, NFL dream didn't happen. I think he messed around in like a semi-pro and in Canada, and then he started coaching, I believe, at 22 years old. Quarterbacks coach at that young. Like, he's a young guy. I believe he's 35. But you're talking about 13, 14 years of experience already. And I want to say 3 or 4 of those years are in the pros, at the pro level. So he's got the experience. He's got the experience. And not for nothing, being behind Shane Steichen for 2 years, he knows what to do. He knows what to do. And just like anything, going back to what I was saying about the ego thing with coaches, he knows he's going to have to do something to put his little spin on the offense to make it his own. He has to do that. Because as a coach, the last thing you want to do is have people saying, well, he's Shane Steichen 2.0. Like, you don't want to be somebody else. You want to be known for your own innovations. And you want to get the respect on your own terms. So he's got to change it up. Like I said, he's got to make some alterations and make it work for us. And he has the prime pieces. He has the prime pieces. If for all of you guys that are still playing Madden, if you got on Madden right now and you could draft your all-star team and you could take the current Eagles, you'd be okay. You might swap a couple players, but for the most part, you would probably want to keep the whole team. So he's got prime pieces on the table. You got, think of it in regards to chess players, man. Brian Johnson has probably 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 queens on defense, on offense, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got about 6 queens on defense. And when I say queens, I mean that's the most powerful piece on the board. And you got multiple queens on the board that can move in any direction and cover the board. You don't want that problem. Teams don't want that problem. I'm already sick of hearing about how hard the Eagles' schedule is. And people talk about it like the Eagles didn't get better. And I'm like, what are y'all paying attention to? Y'all must not have been paying attention what we did in the draft, who we signed. Yeah, we lost Hargrave, but we got Jalen Carter. What's the problem? And you still got Bill Williams, and you still got Fletcher Cox, and you still got BG, and you still got Hassan Reddick. Now you got Nolan Smith. Now you got N'Kobe Dean. Now you got Jordan Davis, and you got Jalen Carter. Good grief. Good grief. People just conveniently forget that Nolan Smith was supposed to be a top 10, top 15 pick. How he slipped to number 30, I don't know. I don't care. We got him. So now you got top picks all across the line, ready to go. So it'll be interesting, man. I'm it's to the point I'm hyped. We are under 80 days, and you're ready to get it on and popping. But let me see. I am. Oops. There we go. This is what you need help with. But let me drop it off real quick. I'm gonna take a break and get some water real quick. And as usual, Philly Sports Trips is sponsoring us, and Fan Up is sponsoring us. So hold tight for this message.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now.
Yep, sign up now. Here we go. But yeah, man. Let me see. What'd you say? One above. Goddard will be featured more. He has been training with the wide receivers often. Listen, man. I believe Goddard is going to have a breakout year this year. He was on schedule to do that last year until he got hurt. When he got hurt against the Commanders. Excuse me. When he got hurt against the Commanders on that BS no call. Sorry ass refs. Like, how do you miss stuff like that? But, and we missed him. Like, people forget he was out 5 games. And not for nothing, man. Like, shout out to the depth at tight end, because I like Calcaterra, and I like Jack Stoles. I think our trio at tight end is set. So they don't talk about our tight ends enough. They do not. This is my dad. He's saying the Eagles defense to have a chip on their shoulder from last year's Super Bowl to spur them on. Yeah, but it's different. It's different because Jonathan Gannon is gone. All the controversy that came and went with Jonathan Gannon, it's a little bit different. We all know that he pretty much crapped the bed in the Super Bowl, didn't make the right adjustments, just couldn't get it done. And I've been saying it before, second half of that game, Jonathan Gannon just got out-coached by Andy Reid, period. Point, period, in the paragraph. Andy Reid just ate his lunch and schooled him. And there's not really much you can do about that. You can throw in maybe he wasn't prepared because of all of the tampering and the head coaching interviews. But somebody made a good point today. They were talking about the Mike Florio report, and if you watch Mike Florio, he used to be a lawyer, so he always comes with the legalese and from that angle, and it's cool because a lot of times he'll give you some good information, but he paints the picture like Gannon wasn't focused. He was too worried about being a head coach somewhere else than getting prepared for the Super Bowl. And because of the way things went down, people gonna feel some kind of way, and rightfully so. However, nobody ever says anything about Shane Steichen going on 2 interviews for the Colts before the Super Bowl. And the reason why nobody says it is because the offense balled out. If it wasn't for that one fumble, that one mistake by Jalen Hurts, it's a different ballgame. So the offense showed up. Defense, not so much. So that's just him being left with the bag because of the way the game ended. And what the defense didn't do in the second half of that game. So we have a way of having selective outrage. If you're going to be mad at Gannon, that means you got to be mad at Steichen. You can't be mad at Steichen because Jalen Hurts broke records under Shane Steichen's offense in the Super Bowl. He broke records. So that aspect of it doesn't get as much attention as Jonathan Gannon because Jonathan Gannon's got to be a bad guy. So, but he brought that on himself. I ain't mad about that. He brought that on himself. That's just the interesting perspective. So we'll see how it goes. We still got a lot of things to do. Late, I don't know when this was released, but I saw the article about the Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles have, 8 players in the top 10, top 100 in the NFL. 9. We got, now this is the top 100 as voted by somebody. Is this Pro Football Focus, or I'm not sure. I clipped the article, but forgot to. I just clipped the text. I forgot to save the what website it came from. But anyways, here's the list. So our highest ranked player is Lane Johnson, number 18, without question, 100%. This guy hasn't given up a sack in like 3 years or something like that. It's been ridiculous. He's a rock. We struggled last year when he went out, and he earned it. He is the best tackle in football right now. And it's interesting because we just had the best tackle in football 3-4 years ago with Jason Peters. Again, Statler University. Is Jordan Mailata going to pick up that baton and run with it? He struggled a little bit last year, but for the most part, he was solid. Is he going to be better this year? Lane Johnson is ranked number 18 out of 100. So that's pretty high on the list. Number 31 is Jalen Hurts. That's a good spot for him. Quickly developed into a top-level quarterback, taking the Eagles to the Super Bowl last season. He is a threat both as a runner and a thrower. Now, I like the way they put it like that. They did not say he's a dual threat quarterback. And a dual threat quarterback means they're not a very good passer. Justin Fields is a dual threat quarterback because he hasn't reached that next level of passing acumen yet. He's got to take his lumps, and he didn't have a really good offense. Definitely didn't have a good offensive line, and he still made some things happen. He still did some incredible stuff. So he's going in the right direction. But there is a very big difference between being a threat as a runner and a thrower and being considered a dual threat. Okay? He can beat you. Jalen Hurts can beat you in the air, and he can beat you running the RPO. There was a couple games last year where he had 4 and 5 carries and beat you over the top. And I was like, that's exactly what we need. You're not a one-trick pony. So, pulling out receipts from before last season, I need Jalen Hurts to be good and consistent. That's what I said. I believe I said that the first time I was on A2D radio. I don't need Jalen Hurts to be great. I need him to be good and consistent, period. And he went above and beyond. Nobody expected that. Jason Kelce's ranked 42 out of 100. Now, I think Jason Kelce should be higher because I think he's the best center in the NFL. But, okay. I think Jason Kelce's got this year and maybe another year, depending on how things goes. If he stays healthy all year, I can see him giving us 2024, and then he'll call it. But he's in good shape. For the most part, he stayed healthy. You know, nicks and bruises, and nobody stays healthy in this game at that age. He's got something wrong, but he can play through it. So I think he should be higher, but he's ranked 42. Number 47 is A.J. Brown. Again, I think he should be a little bit higher, but that's okay. 88 catches, 17 yards per catch. Second in the league with catches 40 yards plus. So A.J. Brown put in work. And like I said, he was not a deep threat in Tennessee. He was a slot threat. So A.J. Brown has benefited from the progression of Jalen Hurts. Jordan Mailata is number 60. The fact that he's even on this list and he didn't play football 4 years ago is absolutely incredible. If you've never seen that tape of Jordan Mailata on his rugby team, you should watch it, because when I found out that they signed him, I was like, you need to put him in the backfield, make him a tight end. He's that fast to be that big. And like people that haven't seen that tape, it is nothing short of incredible. What the speed at which Jordan Mailata can move is never seen anything like it. It's incredible. 60. Hassan Reddick is number 64. Again, I think he should be a little bit higher, seeing as what he's done in the league in the last 3 years. Consistency. Hassan Reddick has been putting in work. Goes back to what I was saying earlier, where coaches' egos get in the way. How come they didn't see this in Arizona? Why did it take him 3 years? Like, what were they doing? What were they doing? What were they waiting on? How were they using him? They had to know that he had the skill set. They had to know. But they let him go. Then he goes the last year in Arizona. He had a great year. Then he goes to Carolina, has 2 good years. And then he comes to us and he does what he does. Know your personnel. 69, Devontae Smith. That's a good rank. 95 catch season. 95 catches. That's the best in Eagles history. That's the best in Eagles history from a player that we drafted. We didn't sign him like T.O. or anybody else or Irvin, or we drafted him. So right off the bat. And even like people forget, as iffy, as suspect as Jalen Hurts was throwing the ball in 22, Devontae Smith still broke a rookie receiving record. He still broke a rookie receiving record. So Jalen Hurts had to be doing something right. Devontae 6. Landon Dickerson, number 77. I didn't see that one coming. But he was Pro Bowl last year. Played well. Again, Stoutland University. Whatever Stoutland is doing, Eagles ain't paying him enough. Eagles are not paying him enough. And you know what? Props to Jason Kelsey for what he said on his podcast a couple days ago. He didn't think, not on his podcast, I believe he said this on WIP. He didn't think he would not be the player he was if he played for another team. The reason why he is as good as he is because he plays for the Eagles and Jeff Stoutland. So props to him for recognizing that. Landon Dickerson is the same way. He was good, not great. But under this system and with Jeff Stoutland makes him great. Jeff Stoutland is the offensive line factory. Everybody he coaches gets better. Everybody he coaches gets better. Number 96, the last one, Slay. Darius Slay, number 96. He's still a playmaker. He isn't great in the run. I don't expect him to be great in the run. I expect him to cover passes. And I said this last year when we scrimmaged Miami. I did not realize Slay was as fast as he is. That play, go back and look at it. I'm sure it's on YouTube. That play where him and Tyreek Hill got tangled up and he ended up tweaking his ankle or something like that. But he was running step for step with Tyreek Hill. Step for step. And the reason why that's important is because Slay, I believe, is 6'1". Tyreek Hill is like what? 5'9", 5'10". So to be that tall at that level and to still be able to have that speed at 30 years old, that's impressive. That's very impressive. I don't think we give Slay enough credit. I'm glad we re-signed him. The way things happened with CJ, him going to Detroit, and just the way all of that played out, we ended up getting the right people that were right for this team, in my opinion. Because I wanted CJ back. I was like, pay him the money. He earned it. He led the league in interceptions, and he was hurt. And not for nothing, Slay probably should have had 6 or 7 interceptions, but he dropped a bunch of them. So we got 9 active players right now playing at a high or elite level players. Out of all of these players, let's go. Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, A.J. Brown, Hassan Reddick, And just those. I will say those players would be what I would consider elite level players. Jalen Hurts is a great player. He's not elite yet. I got to give him another year to get that. He's got to get above 4,000 yards passing and still get, 30 plus touchdowns for the year for a couple more years before I will put him in the elite category. Jalen Hurts is great. You got good, very good, great, and elite. Elite is Tom Brady, obviously. Elite is Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Elite was Peyton Manning, the back half of his career. Jalen Hurts is trending in that direction. So, Lane Johnson, you can't, dude. Lane Johnson, nobody's getting sacks. Just go back and look at what happened when we played Dallas. What happened to the Dallas defense when Lane Johnson went down? Micah Parsons woke up all of a sudden. Lane Johnson was stonewalling him all damn game. He tweaks the adduct. He goes out, and all of a sudden, Micah Parsons is all world. That just lets you know how good Lane Johnson is. Because he hasn't missed a beat. So we've got great or elite players all over our roster. Nakobe Dean is coming. Jordan Davis, breakout year. Jalen Carter should be as advertised. Sidney Brown is going to be better than advertised. We still got Reed Blankenship back there. Slay, Bradbury, Avonte Maddox. We are set, dude. We are set. Marquise, I'm with you 100%, bro. 100%. Lane Johnson was in his grill. Whatever pressure they had came from Mailata's side. And Mailata didn't have a bad game. But when you got somebody like Nick Bosa is going to get through and do something at some point in time, just not on Lane Johnson's side. Because remember that game? They kept complaining that maybe Lane Johnson was jumping off sides because he would get off the ball so quick. So, yeah, 100%, man. 100%, Marquise. Best thing Chip Kelly ever did for Philly was hiring Stout. Can't argue with that, man. Facts. Cannot argue with that. I forget about that, man. Chip Kelly got him. Chip Kelly was oof. I was going through some pictures of mine from like the alumni day when Chip Kelly got hired. Chip Kelly's a cool dude, very personable guy. It just like he went overboard with the protein shakes, man. So, but anyways, yeah, we'll give him credit for that. But we are in a good spot, man. Less than 80 days away. And do you think Howie is gonna sign one more person? Do you think Howie's is gonna take a legitimate shot and get D-Hop? Because I do think we need depth at receiver. Zacchaeus, Watkins, and whoever else is on the roster. I don't know. And that's one of those things where I really don't want to find out. And it's weird because I kind of feel bad for Quez Watkins. Like, I don't feel bad for him, but I understand the way this thing is played out. And Quez Watkins has been solid. But the reason why he catches so much flack is because of what he did in like the biggest moments. Most of the time when he direct result of why we lost against Washington, his fumble. The Super Bowl, he doesn't catch that ball, hits him dead in the hands. And there was a couple other ones, and it wasn't like it was many. It wasn't a lot, but the moments were so big, and big time players make big time plays in big time games. Period. That's it. And you got to remember that. So, like, I like Quez. I still think, I believe Quez is probably faster than Devontae and AJ Brown. So I would think so from the speed factor and his size, dude, he's what you want. But he's got to come up with those catches in the big time moments. Period. That's it. That's the only thing. And you can forgive the Washington thing, but the Super Bowl thing, that was a game changer right there. You have to make that catch. So while the criticism is warranted, and I understand, like, he's defensive about it, and like nobody thinks he sucks. At least I don't. I know how that works. Myron, what's a cheap receiver that's better than Quez? Like, I'm all about getting somebody else, but what you guys got to understand is when people throw that out there, number one, like, you throw that out there like it's easy to do. Let's go out and find somebody. Who? The majority of the receivers that are available now, I would argue there's not many of them that are better than Quez Watkins is right now, based on size, speed, all of that, the measurables. There's not too many other ones better than what you got right now. So you got to take the chance and hope he gets better. If you're going to bring somebody in, do you know what they're going to give you? Among all the other variables you got to worry about. So, who knows? DJ, no. Djax probably would have been hurt. Stop playing. Djax is good in bursts. If he can, blow the top off and catch that one ball, and everybody goes nuts, forgetting that, the guy gets hurt drinking Gatorade. He's just not built for that type of punishment. And if you need somebody, and he's one of those guys like now, like the minute he's on the field, you know what he's going to do. He ain't blocking nobody. He's there to stretch the defense. And if he catches somebody slipping and the quarterback sees him, he's going deep. But that's few and far between. So we'll see what's going to happen. But I like it. I would like to see him go after D-Hop. I think that would be a good situation for us. We do need depth. I do think Quez Watkins is going to show up in the preseason because I think he'll get a lot of time. I think he'll make some catches when they have the group practices and the team combined practices. I think he'll make a showing because he's got the chip on his shoulder, and I'm like, good, keep it there. Nobody's saying you suck, but everybody's giving you legitimate criticism. Now, just like any other fan base, any other team, there are going to be those idiots to take it overboard, and I get it. And this is the new NFL. This is a social media era. So, when somebody getting their feelings, it's going to be on Twitter. See Miles Sanders. As much as a fan of Miles Sanders as I was like, dude, why you say that? Why you even say anything? Just let it go, get your bag, and keep it moving. But now, if they come to Philly, he gonna get the business. So it is what it is. But we in good shape. Our birds are solid. If you want to say a prayer for the Birds, everybody stay healthy. That's the only thing you should be worried about. You want everybody to stay healthy because that is going to be the difference. I don't worry about our schedule because we got better too. We are a difficult win. You are not going to come to Philly, or Philly is not going to come to you and you're just going to run over the Eagles. That is not going to happen. So, yes, it's a tougher schedule, and it's supposed to be a tougher schedule. But guess what? We got better too. And that's what people, the media heads, they just want to look at the schedule and where the teams are ranked and all of that kind of stuff. And, oh, you're not going to get away with that this year. And I'm like, what is there to get away with? We ran a play that couldn't nobody stop. I don't care what team it was. When it's 4th and less than 1, and we do the QB sneak like we do it, nobody's stopping it. They can't. And they know it's coming. That's when you know it's good. So I don't want to hear that you didn't play a very good team and you throw it out the window. And next year, it still doesn't matter. Still doesn't matter. Other teams got to line up. They got to face our offensive line. They got to face our defensive line. And one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So guess what? We got better. So we shall see. All that smack talking everybody else does because they hating on the Eagles and we still getting that hate. Guess what? We bringing the funk too. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. I'm about to get up out of here. I appreciate everybody that came and joined in on this conversation. It was a good conversation all week. I will be back next week. I'm gonna double up. I'm gonna be doing my show next Thursday, and then a little bit later on in the evening, I'm gonna jump on Birds of a Feather with my man Chucks, and we're gonna talk about running backs for a bit. So that should be fun. Do me a favor. Next week, I need everybody. I see I was up to like 17, 18 people. I need everybody to bring a friend next week for the chat. All right. I want to be in the 20s and 30s next week because I want to keep on growing. We got to get to like situation where we like over 100 people in the chat. That's where I want to be. That's the goal. All right. But I appreciate you. Let's continue to make this thing grow. I appreciate you joining my team. And I will see you guys next week. Stay safe. And I will see you on the next play. Peace.